Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a Brilliant Businesses podcast. My name is Nick Bryant, and this is a bit of a celebration today because this is my 50th podcast. So a big thank you to all the people that have been on my show over the last year or so. And it's a special occasion because we've got two celebrations. And the second one is that I've got Greg Clark with me, the Conservative MP for Tunbridge Wells. So, hey, Greg, how you doing?
Good to be here, and congratulations on your anniversary. It's a fantastic achievement.
Thank you. That's very kind. And thank you so much for coming on the
Pleasure.
show. I really appreciate it. As I explained earlier, with Brilliant Businesses, we try and get behind the person and how they got to where they are. So really interested for me and all our listeners to hear about your journey, Greg, and how you got to where you are. So take it away.
Well, business was quite important, small business in particular. So my dad was a milkman, had two small milk rounds, and growing up in a family business, 7 days a week, was very kind of shaping of how I thought about the world.
Yeah.
You see the pressures, pretty much every day. Especially the milk business, you've got to be kind of up before dawn, and then even at the night you're sort of checking that the milk's been delivered to the cold room the night before, and so it really was all encompassing, and also kind of customer service. You can't survive unless your customers are loyal. Yeah. So that was very important. I did my bit on both ends of the day. I went out in the morning delivering milk. I wasn't very good at that. I'm not particularly a morning person, and I'm not particularly well coordinated. So a few bottles I think were dropped on their way. Yeah. But what I did during a lot of my teenage years, when I was at home, was I used to go out door to door collecting the milk money on a Thursday and Friday night. Okay. And I did enjoy that. And actually, that's not bad training and perhaps not even training. Perhaps it draws you to a kind of life of kind of talking to people, finding out. And if you do this, if you go door to door, you can't just say, that'll be £2.50, please. You have to have a little chat with them. You see them every week. Yes. You get to know them. And so that was quite formative. Yeah. I guess you're making relationships with those people, aren't you? Which business is very much like. Absolutely. Yeah. So
Absolutely. Where did it go from there? What happened after that?
So I think being a milkman wasn't for me. So I went to university, read economics at university, and then did a PhD at the London School of Economics in that. But it wasn't. Some people who do kind of PhDs, they want to be academics. I never wanted to do that. Yes. So I went into business consulting with a firm called the Boston Consulting Group. Okay. And that I had an amazing time there. One of the good things about strategy consulting, as it was, you get quite an intense experience working at quite a high level in lots of different industries for different clients. So I did everything from advising Iceland Air, 6 months in Reykjavik, looking at how they should be competing with the big players, to looking at how a cement factory in Mexico, or a series of cement factories, could become more competitive. I did some work in banking with a TSB bank in the UK. So a wide variety of experiences in a short space of time, which I enjoyed very much.
Yeah, very varied. That must have made your job very interesting very interesting. And then from then onwards, so when did the MP part come into it?
So in the 1990s, I'd always been interested in public policy and politics. Yeah. And so I was invited, having been a consultant with BCG and being an economist by background, I was asked to be the special advisor, the political advisor, to the guy who was then the Secretary of State for Trade and Industry. Okay. At the very end of the major government, as it then was. He was a man called Ian Lang. Yeah. And I was his special advisor for about 2 years. And that really opened my eyes to being there, to being round the table where the decisions were made. If anyone knows the musical Hamilton, they'll know there's a famous song in that, the room where it happened. Okay. And it was the same. I could see that interested in making a difference to policy, making a difference to people and the world, if that doesn't sound too highfalutin. Yeah. actually, if you want to do that, then the best place to do it is to try and get yourself into the room where it happens. And so that really, turned a light bulb on and made me want to try to get into frontline politics.
Yeah. Okay. So when was that? What year?
So that was 1996.
Okay. Yeah.
And I guess part of the attraction or part of the draw was, I think everyone knew by then that we were coming to the end of the Conservatives' period in government.
Yeah.
Tony Blair had just been elected leader of the Labour Party, and I thought this was probably the last chance to have that experience, and so I grabbed it, and I was very pleased I did, because it gave me an insight that I wouldn't have been able to have otherwise.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Tunbridge Wells, because we all love Tunbridge Wells. This is what this channel is about the local community, and everyone has suffered through lockdown. Of course they have, but how do you think Tunbridge Wells is getting through it post-lockdown now, through maybe obviously the businesses, the hospitality sector and the retail sector? Tell me what you think about that.
I think we're bouncing back extraordinarily well, and just in terms of the town, I mean, everyone listening to this knows what a kind of lively, almost kind of festive place Tunbridge Wells is. There are always people about, summer nights with jazz on the Pantiles,
yes.
Sunday mornings, people having coffee there, a lot of buzz in the town. And during lockdown, just to walk around the town and see, sometimes literally the kind of shutters up, the emptiness, was quite shocking. It's still kind of appalling to remember it. And so that we did suffer badly in that. And as you say, we've got a lot of hospitality businesses, or retail businesses. It was partly talking to those businesses in the very early days. There was a real sense of panic and almost desperation. You'll remember those times. And that was one of the things that sent me to Parliament to say, we can't have this happen. We need to get people through it. And I made a speech in Parliament. In fact, I called a debate in Parliament through a device called an urgent question that said we need to have a support scheme to keep people in work. And I set out and proposed what became the furlough scheme, which was very much kind of minted in Tunbridge Wells. It was from
I didn't know that.
It was from the experience of Tunbridge Wells businesses that I was talking to that persuaded me, and then I tried to persuade the Chancellor and the House of Commons that we should do that. And that made a big difference, because a lot of the businesses, not all sadly, but a lot of businesses and their workforce were able to get through the pandemic so that they were able to reopen. And now, here we are, it's the end of April, beginning of May, and you see Tunbridge Wells springing back into life. It's wonderful to see kind of pubs and venues kind of full of people again, the Pantiles packed on certainly whenever the sun's out. And even more encouraging, shops that were boarded up, frankly, even before the pandemic. There was a bit of a sense of, because of the move to online retail, what was the future of town centres? You go to the Pantiles now, people tell me there's now a waiting list for anyone that wants a property there. If you take the journey up from the Pantiles up through the High Street is really booming. New openings there the whole time. Going up Mount Pleasant, what was the Carluccio's, which went bust nationally. Now that's going to be a big new venue. Everything is opening up. Camden Road, up by St John's. There's a real sense of resurgence, which is fantastic to see.
Yeah, it's really good, isn't it? It's walking back through the town now is such a different experience to that, which is really positive. And I guess the change in the working process for people that were going up to London perhaps are now staying in the town. Feeds more money into the town as well, I guess.
I do. So I think, listen, none of us would want to have gone through COVID. It was terrible, obviously for the deaths and all, and for the impact on business. But I think it will have some lasting changes. And one of them, we already see it. People, not everyone has having to commute every day. People that, for the whole of their working lives lived in Tunbridge Wells and every morning had to go to London to the office. Now, because people have found that they can work remotely, can work from home, lots of people are commuting less, perhaps 3 days a week, and spending time more at home. And what that means is that if you're spending time in Tunbridge Wells rather than commuting, then you're probably going to do more shopping. If you're meeting someone, for lunch, perhaps even a working lunch, you might do it in Tunbridge Wells rather than London. Yeah. Keeping more money with traders in the town, and also, frankly, if you've gone up at a very early hour of the morning and you get back, 7 or 8 in the evening, then you're probably going to be exhausted and not do much. But actually, if you haven't needed to commute and you finish 5 or 6, then you're a bit fresher. You might be more likely to go out in the evening. Yeah. So I think the life, the economic life, and the social life of the town is going to change. Is changing for the better because of these new types of working practices that many people have discovered.
Yeah, I mean, we're turning a positive spin on it, aren't we? Which is the right thing to do, of course. But it has actually turned out positive in the end, which is really great.
In this respect, I mean, there are some businesses, and not everyone can do that. If you work in, we obviously have kind of local hospitals, but I know people commute up and work in London hospitals, for example. Yeah. They can't do that from home. So I'm conscious that not everyone can do it, and there are other pressures. But I do see, and I think you do see it in these openings that we're having, that we've really turned the corner, and there's positive momentum now in Tunbridge Wells, whereas even before the pandemic, people were a bit worried about the future of the town.
Yeah. What does the future hold for Tunbridge Wells? Where do you see it going as far as the high street and the hospitality and the retail industry? Is it going to go up? Is it going to level? What's your opinion on that?
I think we're in a really good upswing, and I think that is sustainable, because if you look at all of the reasons why we love Tunbridge Wells and people love Tunbridge Wells, what have you got? You've got a beautiful town, a kind of historic town, and people, I think, do like that. No one wants to live or even work in an unattractive and a miserable place, and especially if you're going to spend more time in it. So it looks beautiful. Everyone's more interested in the environment these days. They want kind of greenery, they want countryside. I've often said, if you close your eyes and picture Tunbridge Wells, you probably picture greenery. Yeah. Such a green town, and this time of year, looking glorious, the countryside, I was going to say on our doorstep, but actually sweeping into the middle of town through the commons. So we've got that. We've got good businesses, good opportunities for people to work, not just in retail and hospitality, although that's very lively, lots more independents coming in, but also, as you know, people in the services industry, people in supplying services to businesses and to the public. Good education, good access to London. So I think, I don't think this is a flash in the pan. I think this is something that people can see and is solidly based. So I'm really very bullish about the future prospects, the long-term prospects for Tunbridge Wells.
Yeah, people are proud, aren't they, to say they're from
proud.
here.
Yeah, exactly.
Myself, when I'm out and about and I'm in another town and I say where I'm from, they see Tunbridge Wells, they say, "Oh, that's meant to be really nice there."
Exactly,
it is,
absolutely, it is.
And that's really good, isn't it?
And it's a proper town. It's a town with a reputation. I mean, there are places. I sometimes feel a bit sorry for my colleagues whose the name of the constituency is something south, something northeast, and something like that. And it's not a proper place. It's just a kind of carved up constituency. Whereas to introduce myself and to be called as the Member of Parliament for Tunbridge Wells, I've always been very proud of that.
Yeah, that's nice. You should be. You're doing a great job. Thanks, Greg. Thank you for coming on the show. It's been great talking to you.
Great pleasure. Well, good luck with the next 50 and beyond that. And hope you'll have me back to update you.
Of course we will.
Months ahead.
Yeah, we will do. Thanks again, and we'll see you for another podcast soon.
Fantastic.
Thank you.